26 million Americans, that's 1 in 9 adults, have kidney disease, and 90% don't even know it. It is responsible for more deaths each year than breast cancer or prostate cancer. We not giving up, we gon' win. We are warriors, champions. We not giving up, we gon' win. We are warriors, champions. 1 in 9, do you know?
Welcome to the 1 in 9 Tribe podcast, the show that brings kidney disease awareness, solutions, and hope to the people who want to take charge of their health. Over 106,000 people are on an organ waiting list. Out of that, the majority of the people are in need of a kidney. Over 37 million Americans have kidney disease. And out of that, nearly 786,000 people have end-stage kidney disease, where they're about 71% of those are on dialysis, 27% or 29% are living with a kidney transplant. The average wait time for someone on to get a kidney transplant is 3.5 to 5 years. And in 2020, 22,817 people received kidney transplants here in the U.S. alone. As of August of 2021, 90,201 people are on a waiting list for a kidney transplant. My husband Raymond is about to be added to that list as well. And we also have some special guests that are here in the house with us that know a thing or two about kidney transplantation. And they would also both agree that kidney disease is no joke. So starting here, we've got, again, our two special guests. Alonzo Bodden, I mean, you're a seasoned comedian, so I know you can make jokes about a lot of things. But I know kidney disease means something special to you because you gave a piece of your life. You donated a kidney to your older brother, correct?
Yeah, I donated a kidney to my brother and I actually did write an entire comedy bit about it.
Recently, I donated a kidney to my brother. Don't clap, he owed me money. I was like, I'll be damned if you're gonna skate out on this, ooh, I got a bad kidney routine. I got 2, you get 1, you get your ass back to work.
So yeah, we laugh at everything. And his doctor, one of the doctors, still laughs about that. He knows the bit and knows I make fun of him. So basically what I joked about was, as you know, when you do the donation, there's 2 teams, right? There's a team, a doctor, a surgeon, a doctor, nurse, everything to take the kidney out. And then there's an equal team to put the kidney in. So we do the interview with all of them, right? They have you come in and they show you a simulation of the surgery, and me and my brother are there, and we're going through the whole thing. And I actually said to the doctors, I said, have you ever done this before? Right? Just messing with them, And they said, and the doctor was like, we've done hundreds of these. We're like Jordan and Pippen. And I was like, I get Jordan. He gets Pippen, I get Jordan, and I get number 23 Jordan. I don't want number 45 because he was slowed down a bit, and they were cracking up, and they still laugh about that. And I joked about the whole thing, but it's no joke, but it still had to be, I don't know, we had to lighten it up. You can't do something like this carrying the weight of life and death all the time. And it actually, in the long run, it's life and death, but the more immediate thing, as you guys know, is quality of life, right? Because if you have to do dialysis regularly, it affects everything in your life. You have to work, you have to live around that fact. So with my brother and I, that one of the things we talked about, one of the things he was grateful for was just to not have to do dialysis anymore, to not plan, I can't go on this trip, or I got to do this work, or whatever it is, and also he talked to me about how draining it was just to go through the procedure and how drained you feel afterwards. So it was more when I did it, when I donated to him, and what happened, he was having, his kidney function was dropping like a denigration, and it got to where I think it got down to like 15%, and he had to go to dialysis. I don't remember the exact number, but that's when I said, well, if mine works, you can have mine. It wasn't that big a deal to me to give my brother a kidney, whereas and then in the procedure you learn and you find out how many people won't do it. That fascinated me more.
Yeah, we've definitely come across that. People that are just really worried and they don't have the facts. And so I think you're right too. It's important to have these conversations, like lighten it up a little bit, get the dialogue going, because there's so much silence around it. And I think if people are presented with the facts, then they can make an informed decision. We're really grateful. Raymond's brother also donated a kidney to him back in 2001 that lasted for 5 years, which was truly a blessing. Gave him a new lease on life. His brother's doing great, and is grateful that he was able to give him that gift.
And I will tell you this, that being the recipient of the kidney, you always have in the back of your mind, I hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. Because he still gets frequent checkups to see how his kidneys are doing. And every time he goes in, I want to know, how's your function? Are you good? Because in the back of our mind, there's a little bit of guilt there as far as, am I affecting that, my brother's life for the rest of his life? Just because I can have, 5 years of freedom? And believe me, it was freedom. It was a blessing. And I enjoyed every minute of it. But you always have in the back of your mind, just in case you didn't know, or you may have spoken to your brother about it.
We've never talked about that.
Oh,
so
really?
That's news to me.
Yeah, because that's what I carried.
I'm sure he's felt that way at times. We laugh about the kidney function because, he has 3 kidneys now.
Right.
So his kidney function is actually higher than mine because he has the 3 and I have 1. And we joke about having given him the good one. Hell. But and they said that's why, because we were laughing and it was like, why is it? And they said because he has 3, so it's 3 to 1. So but I mean, I'm fine and he's fine. It's been 9 years now, and so we talk about it, but we've never discussed that. So I'm sure since you said it, it does make sense, but I wouldn't want him to feel that way. I'm fine.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then our other guest that we have here today is AJ Coulter, who is an up-and-coming comedian. That wasn't going to be your path in life. I know you had plans of playing football and going to college and hopefully the NFL, but kidney disease got in the way. And AJ, I know you're on dialysis right now, three days a week. In fact, when we're done with this podcast today, you'll be going to dialysis. So, but you're using comedy to get out there and bring awareness to this disease, which I really commend you for.
Yeah, it was just really unexpected. I mean, growing up in the Midwest, football is everything. Eat, sleep, breathe football. So I was like, I put everything I could into, being on that field, and I ended up playing, my first year, and I was leading the state second as sacks, and I was luckily out of 2 people to get a scholarship to a JUCO. And later on, which it just opened up even more opportunities later, but I was just grateful for that and God. But, after my first year as a freshman, and I was a huge freshman, I was 255. My max bench was about 580. So just to give you a perspective, I was just like a great player. I put everything I had into it. And then that's when it just started. I was just being like a lot of fatigue, back pain, not really sure if that's associated with it. I was given a lot of plasma at the time because, that's how you survive in college. You got to give that extra change, And I was going every week and they were telling me like, hey, you have protein in your urine. And me, I was a big guy, so I just took it as, like, oh, nah, I'm just taking too much. And I ended up transferring later to Oklahoma State, where I wanted to continue my career in football and, continue my education. But at the time, it was just too hard. I was struggling with it. And so I had to give up something that I really cared about. And then, I believe in that sense, that was just God preparing me for this because, as you guys know, after a couple of years later, my kidneys failed. And, that transition from, stage 4 to stage 5, getting on dialysis, only 40% of people actually make it. Mm-hmm. And it was just tough because first couple of years I was just struggling, like really didn't have that support, dealing with a lot of drugs and not a lot of information out there like there are with, corporations like 1 in 9 to, kind of help people with that. And now the path led me here to do stand-up comedy, and I'm really just passionate about it, and I put everything I do to just kind of be the face of kidney disease. And like as I grow as a comedian, like I want to like really always entail like this is the kidney disease that I came from, and like that's who I really represent.
Right. You're still pressing forward. And how long have you been on dialysis now?
5 years.
5 years. And I know you just recently got on the kidney transplant list as well, correct?
Yes, correct. It was actually pretty amazing. It is true. Third time's a charm, because I did try 2 other times in Oklahoma and it didn't go so well. And for the first time, and I'm just so happy. And I tell people all the time, like, kidney disease saved me. It helped me become a new person, you know. And with that, I became more focused on my health, and I had my first good like report card, you know. And so I was proud when they offered me a kidney earlier this year, but because of, you know, certain situations, I couldn't really accept it right now. But I'm getting relisted the 4th and May 4th, and hopefully, you know, it'll happen this time.
Right. Well, and I know you shared with me too that one of the things that was holding you back is having a caregiver. And I think maybe sometimes Raymond and I may take that for granted because we're, you know, married, we're partners in this. So, you know, I can't even want to say his caregiver, you know, like your partner. And so it's just a natural that I'm there for him, because we're kind of going through the same thing, getting him on the transplant list and looking at that time of, you know, that I would need to dedicate. And so for me, it's a lot easier, but with you being a single guy, it's been a little bit more challenging for you to find someone that can be a caregiver. And not that you're going to need someone 24 hours around the clock, but someone that would be able to help maybe just with taking you to some of the doctor's appointments and be available just to help with the first couple days after transplant, and then occasionally for a couple of weeks, correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, being single is definitely a little bit more of a challenge, because I moved out here and I'm completely away from my family. I had to start setting up a new group of friends and a circle around me, which has been great. And I do have, you know, that good foundation, including you guys, and I'm so happy for that. But it's always hard to find somebody that can really like put in that time, because I mean the recovery that they ask for is about 6 weeks, and that, you know, they have the ability to take me to appointments and kind of watch the care that I do, and, you know, eating and making sure I'm taking all my meds and everything. And another part of that is like, you know, I kind of walk everywhere. So, you know, I can't really take the bus to my doctor's appointments as I just got out of surgery. So there's just so many aspects to it. And I mean, there, you know, in that, like, I respect it for the transplant nonprofits that do it too, because, you know, they just want to make sure that their patients have like their best interest and that they're on top of it.
Right. We got to protect those. We got to protect the kidneys that, you know, that gift of life that you were just given. And I'm kind of curious too, you know, Alonzo, what that process was we're talking about caregiving. I know in the case when Raymond had his first kidney transplant, he was feeling pretty good afterwards, but his brother was in definitely more pain, and it took him a few extra days to recover, but he was still in the hospital maybe 3-4 days and bounced back and did really well. What was really, that like for you?
That's funny. So they told me, they said, you need to take a month, take 30 days to do this process, right? So for me, the way of being a comic, you know, I book work and stuff. I said, all right, I'm going to clear the calendar. It was March of whatever year it was, 9 years ago, so 13. So March of 13, I said, all right, clear the calendar. Got the whole month. Because my brother lives in Connecticut. I live in LA. So I was going to go to Connecticut. We're doing the surgery there. Then the idea was me recover at his house and then go on. So the month before the surgery, they said my PSA score went up. I forget what it was, but anyway, they said, we don't know if we can do the surgery. I said, look, you're doing the surgery because I've scheduled, like, I can't just take, I don't have a job. I don't take a day off, you know. Right. So we kind of argued, and they were saying, this is the first time someone's argued to give a kidney. Like, usually it's, and I was like, I don't have that. So anyway, they moved the surgery back. So now I had a 2-week recovery time. instead of the month. We did the surgery that night. I think you had the morphine drip, for the pain. Yeah. And the next day, like I was kind of in pain. My stomach was in pain. And the nurse was like, turn this way. And she'd push something and all the gas came out, right? Because they inflate you to do this. And I was fine. I was like, thank you. I was like, where were you yesterday? Like, why aren't you the first person we see? Anyway, so I was fine. And then they kept me overnight. They just want to make sure that you recover from the anesthesia. Mm-hmm. So the surgery was Tuesday. I think we went home Thursday. And I had to stay. It was almost like what we went through with the pandemic. I know you guys are in Phoenix, so you might not know, but there was a whole pandemic. They shut down a lot of stuff. But anyway, I had to stay inside with my brother because if I got sick, like he was very vulnerable. Mm-hmm. We laughed. He had all these pills, have all these different pills he's got to take and everything. So for a week, we were just hanging around the house, just watching TV and stuff like that. And the following week, I had a gig, and I was like, I'm going. And I went to work. So it was 7 days. It was actually, it was 7 days after the surgery or after leaving the hospital. I was back on stage and I was fine. And I only stuck around because I had to do one more follow-up doctor's appointment with the surgeons there. And then I left and they would, and I was like, man, if I had taken the full 30 days, I'd have gone nuts. Because I got to get on stage. Like it's something I just do. I have to work. So the recovery for me was easy. And my brother's thing, what he told me was, he said, he felt, like you said, he felt fantastic. And he said they told him that that's the danger because you feel so good, you don't do the follow-up care. And he said his doctors stayed on him and said the follow-up care is what's going to make sure that the operation's a success and that the kidney is fine longer term. And they said they have a lot of people who they walk out of the hospital feeling so good that they just don't do anything and then they go right back into kidney problems. So he was big on that. Him and his wife, she wasn't going to let him slack off at all. But
us wives are good at that, right?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So, but for me, I don't know if I was lucky. I don't think it was unusual though. They said that I should be fine. And I've never had any, because people ask me all the time, there's no effect to my body. They obviously do a ton of medical tests before. And they said, if you're healthy and you give a kidney, your body won't even know. They said there are people born with one kidney and they don't even know it until some exam. And they're like, hey, you only have one kidney? Because I guess one can do the job as long as it's healthy.
It can. Yeah, my mom was born with one kidney and I don't think she'll mind me saying 2 uteruses. I know that could open up all kinds of jokes, but she has done well with her one kidney. And so absolutely, people can.
She can't donate.
She cannot donate. She has a big heart. That is the one limitation. She cannot donate. But it is. It's if people are able to do it, especially for a family member. And what we've seen a lot of too is people who have a willing heart to want to donate, and they go through the work and go through the process of the workup and find out that they may have kidney disease, or they may have a risk factor that might not make them eligible, but at least they can have that early awareness to take better care of their kidney health and overall health. So we've seen that as a big plus. Actually, several people. We have a neighbor of ours that's going through the process now to do a preemptive kidney transplant before he has to go on dialysis. And he's had several family members come get checked. And a few of them were finding that there were some issues. So, I think it's taking the stigma, having some of these conversations, are really important because when you look at some of the numbers, that are out there with kidney disease, and it's on the rise. I mean, when we started with 1 in 9, in fact, when I reached out to you back in 2015, when we got this started, there's only 26 million Americans, 1 in 9 adults. Now it's 37 million Americans. We're actually hearing that number is higher, and the numbers are continuing to go up. And so we want to really help people keep their kidneys so that they don't need to have a kidney transplant, but let people know that there is hope. There are solutions that are out there. And, every person's story is different. I know with some of the different programs, like Raymond right now with the process we're going through, it's through the VA. And so we have a VA hospital right here in Phoenix, but they don't do transplants. So in fact, we've got a trip scheduled in a couple of weeks. We're flying out. We've done most of the testing here, but we're going to do more testing and meet the surgeon in Portland, Oregon. So we had a choice of either Portland or Houston, and both have good hospitals. But we looked into this, and thankfully the VA does have some flexibility, so we can get him set up on the list there, and then can choose a hospital here in our own backyard. The only difference is the VA, if he wants to do a living donor, he would need to have that transplant in Oregon, in Portland. If he wants to, he can get listed here, and he can have a deceased donor kidney if one comes up here in Phoenix. But one of the things we would have to look at is we would stay out in Portland for 4 to 6 weeks. They would be able to put us up, but yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm hoping it won't have to be that full month.
Well,
if it goes that way.
If you go to Yale New Haven in Connecticut, ask for Dr. Michael Jordan, because that guy's good. He did mine.
Yeah, he's a rock star. And so when you're out and about, I mean, because a lot of people, first of all, kidney disease is just really not on folks' radar. Obviously, you see it. So do you encounter people that you might see some of the risk factors? Are you talking to people about this at all?
I'll be honest, not really. I mean, I'll do the bit now and then when I think about it, but it's something like it'll come up like this. People read about or hear I'm a donor and they want to talk about it, and I'll always talk about it with people. And they've asked me to talk to Black people about it. Black people are less likely to donate. There's a lot of mistrust, justifiably, because there have been a lot of experiments and so on with Black people. But I tell them, like, you're fine. Like, it's fine now. You can donate. And that's a tough wall to climb, because there's so much misinformation and just family talk. I mean, it's like COVID, right? It's like the COVID vaccine, where you just had people saying, don't take the vaccine. It's like, why? Well, and it's like, no, I don't know why. Like, what do you know that scientists and doctors don't know? But people tend to believe that, so that kind of thing is harder to deal with. So I'm here to say to whoever, it's safe, and again, I've done it, and there's no ill effects. There's nothing, there's just no negative to it. You help somebody. You might save a life. You definitely save a quality of life. And in the Black community, like I say, there's definitely a fear of organ donation, and there was a time when it was a justified fear. Now it's an unjustified fear.
Right. I completely agree. And, I was looking at some of the statistics, and about 6 out of 10 people that received a kidney transplant was from a deceased donor. So really simple for people to, if they're going to go and go to the DMV, they're going to update their driver's license, they can choose to be a donor. We'll put a link to where people can go and if they want to sign up on a registry, which, helps a lot of people. I think they were saying it's between, like, one organ donor can save up to 8 lives, and every 9 minutes another name is added to that transplant list. So, just doing something, unfortunately, we're all going to die at some point in time, hopefully, not any time in the near future, but just having that is a simple thing. And I agree with you, removing some of the, the misinformation or that fear behind that. I think people here are going to be pretty good. People aren't checking their organ donor. Now, I don't know about you, AJ, because I think you've made a couple jokes about it when you're on dates. You don't look at what their birth date is or what their sign is, but maybe are they an organ donor?
Yeah.
So you might be checking some of the driver's licenses, but that's not something that people should be worried about.
First question is always, what's your blood type?
Yeah. That's a sign of compatibility right there. Right?
Yeah. And then, if it works out, then you were a good match. So it always works, swipe right and, it made a match. So we're good.
Well, and what's funny is I actually was a match for Raymond. I was going to donate a kidney to him about 9 years. No, actually, I keep saying 9 now. Actually, our daughter is 13, so like 14 years ago.
14
years ago, I was going to donate a kidney to him. And, I was a great match. And then that summer, for some reason, he kept getting he was really, really anemic and had to have some blood transfusions, which he had never had to have before. And they came back and said, "Oh, we're really sorry. He's developed antibodies against you. You're no longer a match."
Oh, that's kind of mean.
I know, right?
So what's that about?
But we were more of a match than we even thought when we got married.
Yeah.
Because it didn't even cross my mind your being a match with me until we really dug deep into it and started getting more educated. And, okay, we're going to look at transplant because I think I was on peritoneal dialysis.
No, it was after that, because this was after his brother's kidney had failed and he was back on hemodialysis. And I just seeing the difference and how tired he was, coming home. And we had our young son, and he just didn't have the energy level. So I said, well, let's do this. And I'm just a little bit headstrong. But when they came back and said I wasn't a match, I just kind of took it in stride. I said, all right, maybe I'm not the one that's supposed to donate to you. The surgery was going to be that October. And the week of that same, in November, the week of Thanksgiving, he wasn't breathing very well at dialysis. Long story short, he ended up having an aortic aneurysm and had to have emergency open heart surgery. And he did well with that, thank goodness. But the day before he came home from the hospital, I found out I was pregnant with our daughter. And so sometimes no can be a good thing.
Right.
And so had he had the surgery, his heart wouldn't have been strong enough to handle it. We wouldn't have our daughter. So, big man upstairs kind of knows better than we do. And so we've kind of taken that in stride. And it's been interesting. So over even the last 9 years, he's been doing home hemodialysis, which has been a lot easier for him, a lot better. But there were still some other things that weren't making him eligible to be on the transplant list. But as he has improved his health and done other things, now he's able to. So we'll see. I know God knows which kidney he's going to have, where he's going to have it. So I'm not really too concerned about it. We're just doing our due diligence of what we need to do for it. And so that's why, again, I appreciate this conversation, so people can say it's not a one size fits all.
No, unfortunately, it's not. And I mean, it'd be great if it was. If they were interchangeable, I think the whole thing would be a lot easier. But unfortunately, it's not.
Right. Well, and I will have a future guest on that is going to even speak about that. And there's like the paired donation program, where I may not have been a match for Raymond any longer, but maybe I could match for AJ, and AJ has someone that could match for Raymond, and they do these really interesting paired chains. Yeah, some pretty incredible stories behind that. Even I've seen that they're even doing things between countries as well. People from different countries. I think there was someone. I hope I'm not getting this mistaken. I think it was someone from Israel that donated to someone in Saudi Arabia, I believe. And so, it's pretty incredible what can be done. The world's a lot smaller than what we think, right?
I guess the doctors and the hospitals are in touch and connecting the donors with the recipients. That's a thing unto itself. It's good for them. Good for them. Yeah. I hope they can make it work. Obviously, our medical care system is not the greatest, but when it works, it is great. When it works, it's great.
Absolutely. Yes. We're grateful for it.
Yeah.
And
definitely just like the technological advances in like just kidney disease, it just astounds me. And it's always fun because I like to put that in my comedy too, because I always joke about how my ex always calls me a pig, and it's actually ironic that, now that they're developing, kidneys from pigs and trying to donate them to humans. And I always say, like, if I would have got one of those when we were together and she would have called me a pig, it would have turned into a hate crime.
Oh, would have been more justifiable.
Yeah. But it's just amazing that, we can even talk about that and, like, just the future and, like, just the advances that they making in that research and studying all these diseases, like, applaud them.
Oh, absolutely. Applaud them. Let's put some money into it as well. I mean, that's something we really champion is technology. And I know when Raymond had started his hemodialysis, and we saw how the home hemodialysis, and he was doing so much better. And I asked his doctor, I said, is this the best modality for him? And he said, for now, but there's different advancements. So this was like 9 years ago. And they're working on like the backpack, like a wearable kidney that's getting closer, and like a bioartificial kidney, which we actually had the pleasure of being able to meet with Dr. Shuvo Roy with UCSF and with the Kidney Project. And we got to hold that bioartificial kidney prototype that was printed with a 3D printer. I mean, that's incredible. So when that comes, I'm like, look, that's what we really need to put our money into, because there aren't enough kidneys to go around. But you imagine, having that, like how many lives that could save here and around the world. And then with that technology, it wouldn't require the anti-rejection medications. So that's on the horizon. That's definitely coming. And we've talked to other scientists and people that are really, really wanting to see change. And they're like, I don't care if it's someone from another hospital group or another university that gets there first. Let's just get there. Yeah. And let's come up with, some of these solutions. But in the meantime, being able to have that gift of life, whether it's someone that, has signed up on the organ donation registry, or whether it's someone that, is going to help a family member or a friend, that gift of life is so meaningful, because you never know what that extra time or that extra quality of life, what that person is going to be able to do. And I can see, Alonzo, it definitely, you're giving the kidney to your brother has not slowed you down one bit.
No. And he owes me forever. So I got that to hang over his head. Yeah. I'll tell you another thing that happens as a result of this, talking about it. I had someone come up to me and they said that they went to a reunion. It was like, I don't know, high school or whatever it was, but they ran into somebody they had grown up with and hadn't seen in like 20 something years or whatever. And the person needed a kidney. And they said, I thought about you and I checked if I could donate. And they ended up giving that old friend from school a kidney. That's amazing. Wow. And those are the kind of things, like unintended consequence. Mm-hmm. That's great from just talking about it and having been through it. So that's the hope. That people realize, like, yeah, you can do this, and you miss a week of work, and mm-hmm. I mean, ultimately, that's what it came down to, and that's the best situation, right? And when you talk about the medical advances and the science and stuff, and that's where the frustration comes, and not to get too political, but the fact that we don't prioritize this kind of thing, mm-hmm. The fact that we don't prioritize science. Mm-hmm. And I do, you heard me, I do jokes about it. Like, these people are so smart. The people who come up with this, it's mind-boggling how smart they are. And they never think of, well, why wouldn't you want to do this? And you have people who don't, and you're like, well, what are you, it's fascinating, the pushback on things like this, and it's like, get out of the way and let these people, these scientists and doctors and do what they do, mm-hmm. and let's support them, because it's not important until it affects you, right? Then your cousin needs a kidney, or your sister-in-law, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is important. Like, yeah, well, it was important before, because however many million people are on the list, mm-hmm. every one of them has a cousin or a sister or a brother or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I wish we could prioritize it more, but then you get into the bigger things of our society and all of that. So you touch who you can with the info.
Absolutely. And it touches many people as we can, because now it's, you talk about the numbers that are out there. It's now 1 in 3 American adults that are at risk for kidney disease in their lifetime. Mm-hmm. That's huge. We've been hearing some numbers higher than the 37 million. I'm only seeing the 37 million published, but I'm hearing higher. And it's now projected that by 2030, 80 million American adults will have kidney disease. That's crazy. So like, what are the things we can we can do now? And talking about it is one of the things. And, the prevention and, trying to stay healthy. So what are you doing? I know you're active. you're out on the road. I see you traveling
again,
across in even other countries, and I
Yeah.
see you riding your motorcycles and doing things you love. Are you out there
Yeah, I mean, I
hiking
live
too?
my life. I wish I could tell you that, I'm very conscious that I'm a donor and I drink a gallon of water every day and I only eat organic vegetables. Nah, I live my life. My doctor, and it turns out the doctor who did so when we did it, I'm in California, my brother's in Connecticut. So I had a doctor doing all the tests and in contact with his doctors, sending the results, because they had to coordinate it because we're in two different places. And it turned out, through strange twist of fate, he's become my regular doctor now. Okay. So every 6 months he's on me about, you got to get your blood work, and to me it's like, would you stop it? I'm fine, but I do that. So every 6 months I do the tests. So far everything's fine. And so there hasn't been any negatives, and we stay on top of it. We stay aware of it. Now, sometimes it's funny because I went to this doctor, and I forget what it was for, but I told them, you fill out the form, and I told I'm a kidney donor, this or that, and then he came out, he was like, you only have one kidney. And I was like, do you read any of the paperwork? Do you read? Yeah, I'm kind of aware of that, and that was funny. But, and again, it's unfortunate that he doesn't read the paperwork. Right. But overall, I've been fine. And like I say, I wish I could tell you that I'm conscious of it and healthy eating and all of that. But the other side of it is I'm a comic. And just so you know, this ain't a healthy lifestyle. You travel all the time. A lot of times you end up having to eat late at night, and then you eat what's available and this or that, And, I have friends who are like vegetarians, and it's like when you work in Kansas City, you don't want to be a vegetarian. No. All you can have is the lettuce they put on top of the steak. That's the only thing you can eat. So, it is what it is. But I don't know if I'm lucky or whatever. I do believe, in my personal case, I've always been active. Used to play a lot of basketball, work out, stuff like that. And I just believe that as long as I keep moving, I'll be okay. I think if you stop moving, it's tough to get moving again. So I got a Great Dane, and he ensures that I walk at least 2 miles a day because he needs it, So, I mean, no, I joke about it, but it is. Walking the dog has become like a new thing that I didn't do. I mean, I'm an LA guy. We don't walk. Right. Now, granted, I will oftentimes drive him to a place to walk. That's what we do. But.
Right. But at least you're out there, and I think that is key: staying active and keep it moving. Exercise is huge. Walking makes a big difference. And I see you drinking your water, which is a good thing.
Well, Americans, we're not healthy people. I mean, that's just simple. If you go to, like I say, I've been fortunate enough to travel the world. You go to Europe, they eat a lot of fresh food, and they sit down and eat it. The concept of fast food to a lot of Europeans, like, what? Like, I was in Portugal recently, and they were doing this whole thing about, I was actually talking with a guy, and they said, they'll look at Americans like, well, what do you mean you eat lunch at your desk? Like, no, you get up and you go somewhere and you sit down and eat. And that's how they live. And it's a healthier lifestyle. Our lifestyle is based on go, business, bang, bang, bang. And one of the things the pandemic did for a lot of us, I think, was slow people down and change people's priorities. So maybe we'll do better on quality of life and become healthier. I don't know.
I hope that we need to.
We definitely need to, but I don't know if we will.
Right. But you're right. I think a lot of we make recommendations for people too. Try and cut out the processed foods. Go more to a plant-based. Now, I'm not saying vegan or vegetarian. We're not either. But eat more fruits and vegetables. Drink your water. Things of that nature. Some simple things that can be done. And I know you talked about, being in the African American community, there's definitely even a higher risk factor there too. So you are going to be, all three of you sitting here at this table are 3.5 to 4 times more likely than me to have kidney disease. And what we're seeing now too, with diabetes and high blood pressure being the two leading causes, In fact, that's responsible for more than 2/3 of the people with kidney disease and kidney failure. So it's like, okay, let's work on getting those numbers down and helping give a better quality of life. So those are some key things we definitely share. Also, there has been some progress that's been made. I know when you go and look at the your blood results from your labs, there's the EGFR, and if you notice, there's one for African Americans and one for non-African Americans. Well, now there's finally been a push to really get that normalized and a little bit more equality in that, because the numbers have been skewed, kind of saying that African Americans have more protein.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily true. Just like you were thinking, oh, I'm an athlete. No, that's not always necessarily the case across the board.
Yeah.
So that's being normalized. That's kind of being equalized a little bit more. So that's something to take a look at. But just people to be informed and to take charge of their health, be their own biggest advocate. Because just like you said about the doctor, say, oh my goodness, you only have one kidney. We literally went to, Raymond had a new VA doctor, and of course he's got a pretty long history, but he came in and I think somehow it came up that he's on dialysis, and he's like, oh, good. I thought I was going to have an uncomfortable conversation about your labs. Like, are you serious? So, and he may have been joking. He had a dry sense of humor, but I just take that as, don't ever assume that the doctor's going to take the time or have the time to look at these things. Bring some of the questions or the concerns to the forefront, and when you go in.
All I know is you're scaring this poor cameraman to death. He's a young, healthy black man, and all you're doing is giving him numbers of how bad it's going to get. You're okay, man. You're going to be fine. Got nothing to worry about. He's over here. Why am I not drinking water? I should be drinking water right now. You're okay.
It's so funny that you brought that up, because I was actually looking into the GFR thing and about how they kind of, African American, non-African American, and like I had a heckler. And I was actually talking about my GFR, and I was like, my GFR is this and that. And she was like, well, it's different for black people. And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, you're racist. Nah, but I didn't really say that. But it's just crazy, the difference. And like, I'm glad that they're actually like kind of sorting it out now.
Yeah.
Because some people do know about it, and I was approached about it, and that was interesting that you brought it up. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we are seeing some positive changes. Like I said, I'm very optimistic about the future for all of us, for here at this table. And even though we've got some challenges out there, we have some good opportunities as well. And so I just really appreciate both of you taking the time with us here today to bring your experience, to bring your knowledge, to bring some of your humor to a subject that is not easy to joke about, right? It's living it is definitely not a joke.
Right.
And anything more that you'd like to add, Raymond?
No, I mean, I like the conversation. I like the flow, and I want to thank you guys also for dedicating this time especially for those people who do not know and have no clue, even though they have family members who are suffering from kidney disease.
Yeah, 90% of the people with kidney disease don't even know. They're walking around without a clue. So we've got lots of work to do.
I was also part of the Stroke is No Joke campaign. I just involved in medical campaigns with diseases and illnesses that have nothing to do with me. I don't know why they just picked me. They're like, yeah, why don't you talk about it? So, no, but all kidding aside, it's important and for people to know. And like I say, for me personally, the biggest thing is for the African American community to know that it's okay to be a living donor. The one case my brother and I really laughed about, because again, when we were doing this, we were reading all this thing. And there was a guy, he was a multi-millionaire. And nobody in his family would donate a kidney to him. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, you got a multi-millionaire relative that needs a kidney? And because me and my brother joked that our nephew might have been a donor, but he'd have wanted cash. He'd have been
Right.
Lord, send it to me. So if you listen to those people watching and listening to this, if you have a multi-millionaire in the family and they need a kidney, go on and give them one. That'd be the one you want to give to. Right? Fascinating. So with all the information and misinformation, if we could just open up minority communities, all minority communities, to the fact that it isn't going to kill you. It's okay. Donate and be open to donation. It really does make a difference.
It does. Yes, and on that note, I'll just reiterate that, if you're thinking about being a living donor, definitely look into it. There's information so you can make an informed decision. But also, just the simple act of adding yourself to the registry. Again, we'll put the link below so that you can click there, or even just at your local DMV. And not that anyone wants to go to the DMV, but that is another place where you can update on your driver's license. So if you found that this conversation has been impactful, informative, please like and share. Please share this with someone else. You never know what a difference it might make for them. So until next time, stay healthy. God bless.
Can I throw in one more thing?
Absolutely.
You'll
please
get a
do.
T-shirt if you donate. You get a T-shirt. So who can have enough of those?
There you go. Let's do it. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. This has been a lovely conversation, and let's keep making an impact.
All right.
We not giving up. We gon' win. We are warriors, champions. We not giving up. We gon'